two teams hired their new head coach. The Indiana Pacers hired Rick Carlisle today, and the Boston Celtics hired Ime Udoka today. So we're more familiar with Rick Carlisle, obviously, because he's a much more of a household name. But what do you guys think about both of these coaching hires?
I wasn't ready to go first.
You always go first, bro. Come
Sorry.
on.
Rick Carlisle to Indiana. I like that one. I think what we've seen from Indiana is they're bringing everybody back. You know, I think they have a good team. Malcolm Brogdon, T.J. Warren, Karis LeVert's now there, Miles Turner, and Carlisle was talking about Miles Turner. He loves his game. He's probably going to be the centerpiece for them for a long time. So it's going to be tricky what they do this offseason because they've been trying to trade Miles Turner for a while now.
Which I don't understand.
I like it because Indiana needed some offense. You know,
Okay.
Rick Carlisle is an offensive-minded coach. And
That's true.
Indiana needed some funk, some more flair to their offense. I feel like it's too boring. It's too plain. It's not effective in the NBA. So I think getting Rick Carlisle is going to help that scheme a lot. And not to mention, you know, he can help a lot of those players playing, you know, coaching Luka, coaching Dirk. So I think that will help him in the process. He knows how to win. He's a champion. He's been a champion before. And I think now it's time for Indiana to, you know, there's no excuses. You know, they ran Nate McMillan out the building. You see what he's doing right now. He's in the ECF. Nate, the other guy, he wasn't that good. He's out of there. So now I think this team right now, Indiana, if we look at this team on paper, this is a good team, a good enough team to make the playoffs in the East. Now you have we probably can all assume you have a Hall of Fame coach right now, and I think you should start looking in the mirror and looking at yourselves and thinking like, all right, it's time to step up. We have Rick, we have an offensive-minded coach. Let's make something happen. We have a couple guys who are all-star caliber players. We have a couple role players. We have a good enough team where we can make a run. So I like Rick Carlisle for this situation right here.
This is actually Rick Carlisle's second tenure with the Indiana Pacers. He was their coach at first in the mid-2000s, and fun fact, his first year in Indiana, they won 61 games.
Is that the Jermaine O'Neal year?
Yes, Ron Artest, old Reggie Miller.
He was like third in MVP voting.
Al Harrington was there as
Reggie
well.
O'Neal.
Jermaine, wow.
Yes.
But his first year as an Indiana Pacers head coach, they won 61 games, which is the most they've ever won in franchise history. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Detroit Pistons, and that Pistons team won the finals that year. But then the next 3 seasons, they kept dropping down to eventually the point where Rick Carlisle was let go from Indiana, and now he's back. And I think Jermaine O'Neal, he was a great player, but I don't think he was a superstar. Nah. And you look at their team at the time: Ron Artest, Al Harrington, Jermaine O'Neal, Reggie Miller. Those are guys who were really good, but they didn't have a superstar player. You look at this Indiana team right now; it's a bunch of the same. Brogdon, all-star caliber. LeVert, when healthy, is in the same tier as Chris Middleton, in my opinion. Then you look at T.J. Warren, Sabonis,
high praise.
Then a Miles Turner, who's an elite defender. And Rick Carlisle has actually praised Miles Turner in the past before. So they have a lot of great players, you know, that are all-star caliber players. Rick Carlisle could bring the most out of these guys. And they also have the 13th pick in the draft as well. And fun fact, the last time they drafted around that area, they drafted Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Danny Granger, Miles Turner as well. They usually hit on the draft picks if they draft around that 13 area, the teens.
What do you think they need, though?
I feel like I'm looking at their projected 5 right now. Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, T.J. Warren, who was hurt basically all year, Sabonis, Miles Turner. That's a firm 5.
Then they got Lamb, Holiday.
On the bench, you got T.J. McConnell, Doug McDermott, Justin.
Both free agents.
TJ and Doug. I feel like Doug might come back. Doug played relatively well for them. So did TJ McConnell, truthfully. One of the Holidays is bound to come back, but other than that, it's a bunch of role players. But I do like the hiring. Obviously, he comes with a lot of experience. I feel like the player who's going to benefit the most from this is Sabonis. I feel like Sabonis, Rick Carlisle is gonna instill a lot of the things that he instilled in Dirk, and obviously Dirk had more of an outside game than Sabonis does, but Sabonis' playmaking ability is what I feel like Rick Carlisle is going to utilize the most in this offense. Malcolm Brogdon's obviously going to get a huge role, but Karis LeVert, like you mentioned, when we saw him in his brief time this season with the Pacers, he was lights out shooting. He averaged over 20 when he was playing. Obviously, it was garbage minutes because their season was pretty much done at that time. But they had no Miles Turner. They had no T.J. Warren. He was doing his thing. But you get a healthy 5 with Rick Carlisle bringing his culture to this team. I like the direction that this team's going.
You said Caris LeVert is on the same level as Middleton?
Yeah,
I think he is. Why is he not? Caris LeVert, when healthy, in the stretches that he's shown, he's on the same level as Chris Middleton.
But those are short spurts.
Correct.
You know? Those aren't like long stretches. That's what I'm saying. Like there's players in the NBA that can have a long, short stretch.
Do you think LeVert could be a firm 2?
Absolutely. Healthy, absolutely.
Do you think
I think he's a better scorer than Chris Middleton. I think Chris Middleton's a better defender. He has a better all-around game.
Better shooter, too.
But I think Caris LeVert's a better scorer and a better ball handler. You give him the ball, something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think he steps up in big moments. Chris Middleton, to this point in the playoffs, really has not shown much outside of this playoff run right now.
Okay.
Caris LeVert in the playoffs has been really good when you watch him play.
So what is 5 games?
I was going to say, what is...
I mean, yeah, but that's still a playoff series, and you've been good.
That's true.
Against Philly with D'Lo, LeVert was the only one who really showed up.
The sample size for me is not enough, personally. I feel like I can agree with you. Chris Middleton hasn't really shown up until this playoff run. But in the regular season, Middleton had been an all-star for the last 2. I was going to say the last 2 seasons. Last year, he won them a game against Miami where they were about to get swept. Middleton put the Bucks on his back and won him a game. So I have to put some respect on his name for that too. And then what he did against the Nets, that Game 7, clutch bucket to put them up 2, which ended up being the bucket to win the series for them. It's just it's a bold thing to say that LeVert's up.
LeVert is health. You know, he hasn't been healthy enough for us to say, all right, we know he's going to do this for a full season. You know, he's always been hurt, whether it be ankle injuries, leg injuries, or something in his body.
Freak lung injury.
Yeah, so it's...
Caris LeVert put the team on his back against Philly when he beat them in the playoffs. Caris LeVert for that series averaged 21, 4, and 3 and shot 49% from the field and 46% from 3. And that was a Philly team that went to that was
Toronto,
a Kawhi buzzer beater away from going to the conference finals, and they could have went to the finals if they would have beat Milwaukee that year. But you know, that Philly team was a great team, and Caris LeVert showed out. So I think Caris LeVert, when healthy, has shown he is on the same level as Chris Middleton.
How many points did he average that series?
21.
So Middleton's career high in the playoffs was 24.7. His second best is 22.
What did he play?
What do you mean? Who did he play in that series?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm just looking at his stats overall.
I mean, the thing with Caris, though, is it's always been about opportunity.
Yeah.
If you put Caris and you swap him out with Chris Middleton and Caris stays healthy,
availability is the best thing.
Yeah, exactly. But he can drop 20 to 24 a game easily. Caris LeVert is that type of player.
Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, I just feel like Chris Middleton just does more for a squad on top of just offense. So I feel like that's another reason why I lean Chris, but I understand. Listen, LeVert's no scrub. I'm not saying he's bad by any means. I just feel like to put him on Chris Middleton's level right now, especially when we're seeing Chris Middleton really take form.
I mean, what's Middleton's level?
Bottom tier all-star.
Chris Middleton is a 20-point per game scorer. Caris, when healthy, is a 20-point per game scorer. Chris Middleton has been that guy that every year is a borderline all-star, but you wouldn't mind if he doesn't make it. That's what Caris, when healthy, is that type of player.
Out of Milwaukee, other than Giannis, do you really care about anyone else if you don't watch Milwaukee basketball? Not really.
I'm not about to answer that question.
Because Giannis is what catches your attention.
It's not that. It's that Chris Middleton is just a borderline all-star.
I think what it is.
I think he's like Tobias Harris in that same.
I think what it is.
The guys that got snubbed by him. I don't mean to interrupt you.
I just think what it is just Middleton's available.
100%. But you think about the guys that he made it over last season. He made the All-Star game over Devin Booker, made the All-Star game over De'Aaron Fox.
Over Beal.
You're naming West guys.
Well,
Middleton's in the East.
I apologize. You're 100% right. But
he made it over Beal.
That's
shouldn't have made it over Beal. Beal is better.
Last year?
And did Jimmy
not this past season? Last
did Jimmy make the All-Star game this season?
He made it, but he was hurt.
Okay. He did make it, and he gave his spot up, didn't he? Because Bam didn't go into the All-Star game. You're 100% right. I just completely got
Chris Middleton is that borderline All-Star guy. He's in the Tobias Harris range for me. Like that's where he's at. And
okay,
I don't think.
I think I would take Chris Middleton over Tobias.
I mean, they're the same tier.
Those are number 2 guys.
They're both. Tobias' defense isn't Chris Middleton's.
They're both guys that you don't want to give a max contract to.
Oh,
I would give the way Middleton, like you're talking bad on Middleton, like this isn't the best he's ever played.
I mean, he's playing phenomenal, but this is, like you said, it is the best he's ever played. And it's taken him 4 to 5 seasons to be consistent in the playoffs. And even then,
but didn't you say
away,
he's
not good.
Like 4 or 5 years is usually normal?
He's
29.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a while.
Okay.
And plus, away, he's not good. So you can count on him being there at home games.
Not yesterday.
But on the road, he's not good in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And in this season, in this playoffs, he's shown that as well. So you can only count on him 50% of the playoff games. I mean, Middleton is good, but he's one of those guys that you don't want to give a max contract to. You don't want them to be your number one option. They're good as number two.
I agree with you.
They're
there.
like,
do you want LeVert to be a number one?
He's not a number one, but he can be a better number one than Middleton because he's an electric scorer.
Listen, I saw Middleton in the playoffs win a game against a team that went to the finals. He put up 30 plus against an elite at that time, elite Miami defense by himself. So it's not like I'm going to say he can't be because I saw it in the playoffs when it mattered most.
I mean, to be fair, that Bucks roster got upset. They were not supposed to get beat like that.
I agree.
They
and
got upset.
Giannis was banged up too, and they didn't have 100%.
I mean, they got upset. That's just the bottom line of it.
For sure. But I'm just saying, I've seen Chris Middleton do it.
I mean, Chris Middleton, I'm not saying he hasn't done it, but I just don't think Chris Middleton, he's a number two, but he's a low-level number two. I mean, when Milwaukee loses, we look at him and we're like, wow, he went 6 for 23.
I agree with you.
Like, that's what we look at.
But up until this season, you're right. 100% I agree with that. But it's just the fact that he's playing well now, and this just so happens to be said. It's just like, we got to give him his respect while he's actually finally performing.
No, I'm giving him his respect, no doubt about it. I think he's a great player. Mm-hmm. But I also think that he's a low-level 2, and that's exactly what I think Karras is. Like, he's a low-level 2, probably a 3. Chris Middleton, if, like, he's on a championship favorite, he is a third option. He's not the number 2 option.
But Milwaukee's a championship favorite, and he's a number 2.
I would think right now Phoenix is the favorite.
Phoenix actually just opened up as being the favorites.
Okay.
But before Milwaukee lost, they were the favorites.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially when you look at Middleton.
But that's just because of how dominant Giannis is, realistically.
Of course. I mean, that's because of without question.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Bucks lose, we point to Middleton. He's the guy. When the Bucks lose, we very rarely say, "Man, Giannis shot poorly." We say, "It's Middleton. Mm-hmm. It's Middleton." Mm-hmm. Even Holiday yesterday, he showed up. He had 30.
Holiday had an amazing game last night.